Welcome to the Boosted Volunteer Podcast. We share the stories of dedicated Booster Club volunteers and the tools and strategies they use to run successful booster clubs. We also have sought-out experts on fundraising, volunteer management, and running nonprofits to share best practices. Hosted by Robin Eissler and Evan Eissler, you won't want to miss these great episodes that will help you run your booster club like a champ.
Hi, I'm Robin Eissler with the Boosted Volunteer. If you've ever felt like you're one of 5 or 10 people doing all the work in your booster club, today's episode's for you. We're sitting down with Sharon, better known as the band mom from social media, and Jeremy, her husband. They used to run the concession stand at the Waxahachie High School while their son was in band there, and now they continue to be band parents up in Northwest Arkansas, and Sharon's a social media phenom with her band mom account, sharing all sorts of great videos and clips of our marching bands across the country. They're going to give us some insights on how they increase their volunteer counts, optimize their concession stand, and share some of the things they hear from marching bands around the country. Well, Sharon and Jeremy, thank you for joining us today on the Boosted Volunteer. I'm excited to hear all about your journey as booster parents, and Sharon, how you became the band mom officially. So let's dive in. So you truly are the band mom. Tell us about how you got started as a band mom, and Jeremy, you as the band dad.
Yeah, Robin, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get to chat with you. I had to sit down and count on my fingers earlier today how many years ago it was that I became a band mom, but it was in 2014. So all of our kids, well, 3 of our 4 children took musical instrument lessons of some sort when they were in elementary school. But the decision was when you go to junior high, you just pick up an instrument, join the band, and that'll be your instrument. And so 2014, my oldest had been taking piano lessons, and we went in that spring to go try out the different mouthpieces at the band hall at the junior high and see which ones they liked. And I didn't know anything about any of that. They were all like speaking Latin to me, what these different instruments were. And I still remember to this day the look on the band director's face when he put a double reed in my son's mouth and he blew on it perfectly. And he looked over at me and said, "Oboe players get college scholarships." I was like, "Oh, really?" And sure enough, we played the long game and it did. But yeah, so we've had 4 kids go through junior high band and 3 through high school. One of them, it wasn't their thing. So it was like 2.5 in high school, a college band for 4 years. And then Lord willing, we'll have another college band kid here this fall. So been around a little bit.
That's exciting. And a couple different high schools, right? Y'all moved during the middle of all this?
So we were at Waxahachie High School, south of Dallas, and my oldest went through that program all 4 years, and we had a gap year. We stayed on the boosters that gap year because we're like, oh, we're going to have a kid on there next year too. We were still volunteering like at the junior high and stuff. But then we got a job offer, relocated to Northwest Arkansas, and Bentonville is the school here that's really known for having a great band program. So we're like, oh, let's look there. And there weren't any houses for sale in Bentonville. We're like, well, there's another house school district that is still in Bentonville, but it's Bentonville West. And so it was a newer school. We're like, oh, it's the same district. They're going to really prioritize art. And so that's what we told the realtor. We said it had to be in Bentonville. Had to be in Bentonville. So we wound up at Bentonville West. It was a newer school. And so my youngest son got to go all 4 years through that program.
Very cool. I love that you said we had a gap year, but we still volunteered. Y'all are those saints that volunteer even when you don't have kids in the program then. So that's awesome.
They were still in junior high. We were still investing in the program.
Yeah. So as I understand it, y'all took over the concessions at Waxahachie. And what was the volunteer situation like when you did that? What kind of problems and challenges were they facing?
I was going to lean on Jeremy a little bit for this. So I was already on the boosters, and I don't remember which role I was in. I was going into the volunteer coordinator role, the vice president role. And I convinced Jeremy to come on board to run the concessions. And so, of course, by nature, I'm helping him too. But Jeremy, did we have any big hurdles we were trying to tackle when we kind of took that over? I don't remember.
We should set the story straight, though. I had voiced a few opinions on concessions over time, and then I went out of town for a work trip, and I think there was a parent meeting that evening, and I came back and somehow found that I had been volunteered for concessions.
Should be real careful voicing those concerns in a booster club. That's why I became president, and I was like, whoa, how did that happen?
Yeah. With boosters, if you have an opinion on something, then suddenly that's an opportunity for you to own it. So I think that's how it happened. The first year I just did props. That was the rain year, I think. And the rest is history and how I made it to concessions. But from a volunteer perspective, I think it's probably the same story as with any other booster program. You had the few that did much, and they were propping things up. I think from a night to night perspective, it was probably going as well as it could have, with the same challenges where you had people that would no show and you couldn't get enough and you're scrambling always to the last minute. From a leadership perspective, I think there were a couple that were leading the concessions from the top, and they've been doing it for a long time and had a lot of cult knowledge on how it worked, and kind of had it working as well of an oiled machine as they could have.
I just wanted to circle back. We had talked about some of the concession stand stuff. You guys actually shared your concession stand with some other groups. How did you manage that?
So we were like the primary occupant of the concession stands. We'd have Thursday night JV, junior high football games, varsity Friday night. But then occasionally there was a university there in town that would have activities like on a Saturday, and they would use our school facilities. So there were times where they would come in and use a concession stand. So we had to have, and I don't know, Jeremy, if you want to expand on this more, but I know there were certain areas that would be for their use or ours, or we'd have to lock it, or I don't know what all we did, but we always knew if something went plain, we knew to go.
Yeah, the stands were owned by obviously the facilities were the schools, the equipment was the schools, unless it was sitting on a countertop. And the countertop stuff was ours, but all the fryers and all that all belonged to the school. So while we had the football game rights, we did not have exclusivity to the stand. So every night it was all the point of sales got taken, put away, and locked back up. All the food got put in the refrigerator or taken to the big walk-in. All the drink coolers got locked. Supplies and stuff, we would generally have to take most of those and put them away as best we could, because we would lose track of who would be in the stands. It could have been a soccer game during the week, and maybe a track meet. Maybe it was, as a college on the weekend. And so we had a few struggles with that here and there because we didn't own it, but we were the primary user of it. And then we also did JV at different locations throughout the city too. So some of the different facilities. And so you were sharing with softball, or you were sharing with baseball. And we even got to do a few basketball games here and there. So very much a shared stand situation. It added a little bit of work. It made setup a little bit longer because you had to bring everything in. It made tear down and clean up a little bit harder because you had to get everything out of there. But we had a really good working relationship with the school district. And that's another important point. You need to know who is over facilities, know who the electrician is, know who can do plumbing, know who the city health inspector.
Guy with the keys, right?
Find the key guy, find the AV guy that can control the menus. And that was one of the things whenever, as a board member for concessions, that was one of the things that you have to do, you don't think about it. You got to cultivate those relationships and make sure you have those, because when you need them, you really need them, and you need them really fast. You walk into a stand and you realize that something's not, or the athletic director, you want to know because you need to know who's going to be in there.
So one of the things, Sharon, when we initially talked, y'all talked about really increasing the number of volunteers that you were able to get to come out. I mean, and that's typically a problem with all boosters is we talk about the 80-20 rule in business. In boosters, I think it's 95-5 rule, right? Almost. And if you're one of those people that raise your hand, you end up doing everything. So really the challenge is how do you spread that work amongst the group, and how do you get people excited and encourage them to come out? So what sort of strategies did y'all use?
Yeah, I was really excited that one thing that I felt like I got to help do for the booster program there was double the number of volunteers that they had. And so really own it up to just relationships and getting to meet people and understand where they're at, because everybody's different. I mean, I grew up very, very shy. I was not someone that would just step out of my comfort zone and do stuff. And so I just tried to really mingle and get to know people who were new in the program, understand them and their kid, where they wanted to plug in, what kind of stuff they liked doing. And by nature, I learned, what are they good at that maybe they don't realize they could do. And so I kind of just played matchmaker for those couple of years. You'd be really good at this. You need to talk to so-and-so. And Friday nights in Texas, when you're running concession stands, I don't remember if we had 50 to 60 people each Friday night. It was a lot. You had to have a lot because that's a big deal in Texas. And so we got to where we were able to just have really strong crews across all of the stands And we had a couple people that would be the lead manager, but there were people that just we'd pair them up because they liked working together and they had friends over here. And we knew that group would really do well if they kind of stuck together and that group stuck together. And it just really boiled down to getting to know people. It wasn't one of those top-down broadcasts, hey, we need people to sign up. It was really just trying to understand where people were at and what they were able to give and willing to give.
I would add good volunteer experience is very contagious. So if you make it a good experience, if you make it fun, if you give the volunteers a bit of autonomy to make some decisions, that builds in ownership. And then, like Sharon said, then they tell their friends and it becomes an evening out instead of a burden. And yeah, you would see that. You would see people all volunteer for the same night in the same stand because they like working with each other and they would have fun. Additionally, I think as someone that is helping lead and organize, maybe it's a concession stand or maybe it's a prop crew or uniforms or whatever, the more you can do to make the process smooth and repeatable, the better off you're going to be, because that takes away some of the anxiety and the stress. What you don't want are a bunch of volunteers showing up that don't do it very often, which is going to be a lot of the volunteers. And then they get there and they have no idea what to do. And you don't have a way of telling them to do that. So you have to make that very clear, make that very easy. That way they can jump in and they can start to contribute and they can start to see their value right out of the gate. If they don't, if they think they're there and they're not getting used and their time isn't well spent, at worst, they're just going to walk and they're going to leave early. And at best, they're just not going to sign up next time. And then you'll wonder why you don't have as many volunteers. Well, the first time you had them there, you didn't treat them in a way that acted like you wanted them to come back. And that was really important with the concession stands, because if you had a cashier, someone that was well-trained in being a cashier and that you could trust, and if they didn't show up, the cost or the lost opportunity in leaving a window closed was huge. One window shut was just devastating because that's all those customers are shifting to other lines. You're disappointing more customers and you're disappointing them for the next time too. They're going to remember that bad experience. And they're going to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to eat before I get to the stands, before I get to the game next time, and I'm not going to bother with it. So you've not only disappointed the fans that are there, you've disappointed the other volunteers because you've overworked them, you've overworked yourself, you're not giving as much money back to the program. It's a snowball effect of a lot of bad. So
I would even say we had the teenagers, the siblings of band kids beg to come and help too, because it was a lot of fun. I don't know. We just had a really good atmosphere and the kids would come in and it would be like this big, I don't know, Jeremy, how many people did we have like in one stand on a Friday night? Like 15 to 20?
Yeah, I think we needed a minimum of 15, which you were running 4 windows and you had runners and you had folks that were running inventory back and forth to each stand. You had those that were cooking and prepping. So
yeah. So it kind of turns into a race, right? Like the teenagers that are back there as runners are like they're racing each other to get the drinks first and get the popcorn first. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like, we were wore out at the end of the night, but it was fun.
There's nothing like a good concession stand shift, right? Like at the end, you're like exhilarated, but exhausted and excited because you did well and raised money. And I definitely agree with your point. One is making it fun. We were involved in 3 booster clubs because we had 3 kids in 3 different activities. And there was one of the booster clubs where when we worked concessions, it was terribly organized. And then the lead would jump over everybody and telling them what to do. And I think I only ever volunteered once for that program. And I ended up managing concessions for 2 other programs for 3 years. So that speaks to the fun component and making sure it's enjoyable. Did y'all have assigned roles? Because I always found that helps too. Like you're the nacho person and this is exactly what the nacho person does.
Oh, 100%. We had to have roles. We had to know who the manager was, the stand manager was for each stand. And then we'd have basically these levels of what you have to have and then the nice to have. It's nice to have a popcorn person. It's nice to have a chip person. You had to have the person grilling. You had to have the person warming up the nacho cheese and all of those kinds of things. And so depending on how staffed out we were, we would have some floaters. I usually was a floater too. I'd go and restock and then check on everybody, make sure they had what they needed. And then I'd go to the next one. On that note, I'd add really just talking to people during that to see what they need. Is it working out? What can we do to make it a little easier? And a lot of times we just got good ideas from people, stuff we should try. And we'd try new things. And sometimes they were great and sometimes they were a flop. But, just to listen to people and see what they need.
I was going to say, yeah, we had very specific roles going from starting with cashier down to I don't know what we called them. They weren't a food runner. I guess they're a food runner. Cashier didn't touch the food, right? Cashier just touched the money and took the orders and yelled it out. And then someone would hand the food, and then you had someone prepping food. You kind of work your way down. If you wanted to open a new window, well, I needed another cashier. I needed another runner. I needed maybe another food prep. Like they came in pods that you had to have. And then, of course, some people wanted to do some things and some people never want to do other things. And some people you didn't want doing other things. There are certain people you didn't want to be a cashier, or you didn't want them cooking the hamburgers because maybe it was a food safety concern, or some people were afraid of.
Read between the lines.
Yeah. And you have to be smart about that. But there's ways that, and there's some people that are really good at certain things. And if you have a choice, I want them at window 1, because window 1 is where all the kids come. And she's a teacher and she handles kids very well. So she does a great job doing that. So
you get people that don't get along. And so you got to arrange for all that too.
We, at our school, when you talked about the kids doing it, the kids could do everything except for cashier. They weren't allowed to handle the money, but they made great runners and all of that. Did y'all have any type of inventory system or anything you used to track everything or how much to buy? And were you in charge of buying the stuff? And how did that work?
I'm just going to say he came from a job where he ran convenience stores at a high level. So he was...
I was an inventory planner, which is why I had opinions. And
I had a gal that was a Buc-ee's general manager who ran concessions during my years. And thank goodness we were so excited because of the year of COVID 2020, we had rolled out this really cool menu. We were volleyball, but we'd have a lot of tournaments, 2-day tournaments where kids would come and we'd have a couple hundred kids there for 2 days. So we were going to do all these like tacos and this and that. And she knew how to do it because she was, and then COVID hit and then we weren't allowed to do any of that. So that was kind of a bummer, but we had it all planned. We were really excited about it.
When we first started, I think within the first year, we added point of sale using a popular point of sale provider that came with built-in inventory management. And obviously we could take credit card purchases and things like that. None of that had existed before. I think there was credit card, but it was a difficult way and you could only do it at certain windows.
Did you find that sales increased when you started taking credit cards?
Absolutely, they did. And we measured it and we were able to prove it, and we were able to buy, I think we bought more point of sale after that. It was a big win for us moving to credit card.
We see that a lot. You know, there's obviously cost to it, 2-3%, but across the board, it's generally around 30 to 40% the sales go up just because people will buy more if they can put it on a credit card. So there's not very many clubs that aren't taking credit cards now, but a couple of years ago there were, and I still tell people, look, you just need to turn it on. Trust me, you will be shocked.
You got to spend money to make money, right?
Right.
The basket size definitely went up whenever we added credit cards, and we were able just to turn a lot more transactions. And from a fraud and abuse perspective, that you're moving less cash. So you're taking away some of that risk of money getting taken by a volunteer and things like that. I think it was go all around. But we implemented that. We baselined all of our whatever inventory we had left once we're walking to the new year, which would basically just be water and some supplies that could carry into the next year, and got all that squared away and went through that year. It is a bit of a learning curve. Teaching the volunteers were like, if you're a store manager and, hey, I'm going to comp out a Coke to a police officer that's there, or maybe to one of the volunteers, okay, you actually have to decrement that inventory. So it was a little bit of a chase game that I had to play for a while, but we found a rhythm. A lot of the inventory we were getting from a major big box retailer, and we were constantly having to take a truck and go fill up the truck, bring it over and over. And when you're running one of these big operations, you're not going to get everything you need in the back of a pickup truck in one trip. You would take multiple trips. Yeah, it ended up being a lot. So the second year, we actually signed with a distributor out of Fort Worth that would bring a trailer to us with everything. And we had to take on some additional expense because now you have delivery costs and stuff like that. So we gave away a little bit of our margin in doing so, but we made it a lot easier. And in doing so, that helped the volunteers not get burnt out as much. And we actually used it to get a new volunteer position created that would just handle inventory. It was someone that was a stay-at-home mom, and she was available during the days, and she could meet up with the delivery driver at 10:30 in the morning to help get the inventory put away. And that was a position that we didn't have a need for before, but it gave her a way to learn it. And it took some of the burden off, a lot of it off me and my partner, but a lot of the others when it just came to chasing inventory. Fridays ended up being these days where we were constantly running back and forth, just trying to get all the inventory we could. It was too much. So once we did that, and once you had inventory management on top of that, And once you had point of sale on top of that, so you could see when your trends were down, where you were trending with your sales, it made it to where it was like a business, because at the end of the day, a concession stand is a business, whether we like it or not. It's a charitable business, but it's a business. You're just taking all your profits and you're turning that back into the program instead of pocketing it. So
When we went with the food distributor too, it helped us widen our menu options, if I remember that correctly.
it gave a few more options. It did give a few more, so we could experiment with some different things to add variety.
Hey, Robin,
And-
we used to
and-
have these fry at nights where we just come up there and fry random food to see what we what we wanted to put on the menu. I forgot what all
we did
all
funnel
the
cakes.
concession people came up there for that.
We would take candy bars, and when you had extra funnel cake batter, you could do a fried Reese's, or you could do a fried anything. So we would do that once each week. We'd have something different. It's kind of just something to look at. So just so I get some special, we're doing fried Reese's, or we're doing fried Oreos, or we're doing fried whatever. And it was easy for us to do because we already had the funnel cake batter, we already had the candy, we already had this, and we can just add it on and give variety to the customers.
People were excited. They're like, "What? You have that? I'm going to come get that." And then you sell out of it because they see their friends with it walking around, and then before you know it, you're sold out. So
Selling out's good.
Absolutely. Well, and I always tell people it's kind of a brand. You're building your brand as your concession stand. And if people can count on you for fun and creative stuff, they're going to plan their day around it, right? I got to go to the game Friday night, and I know they're serving good food, so we'll just eat at the stadium. And you can make or break whether or not people are coming there to eat or just get a soda or water or something.
I still remember one school was extremely disappointed repeatedly, and then I felt so sad for them. It was some school, I don't remember what district they had come from, and all the kids came up and they wanted pickle pops. And I was like, "What is a pickle pop?" And I guess, you freeze your pickle juice or something in a little cup, and all the kids wanted pickle pops. I'm like, "I don't have that."
One thing we did that really helped us, obviously we had homecoming night was a huge night. It's a huge night for wherever the homeschool is. And then we had rivalry night, which was another one, which was also, both of them would be equal in how big they were. And it
Yes.
was all hands on deck. And it was, you're dead on a normal night, but you're really dead on those nights. And we added 2 dedicated drink lines. And when we did that, we noticed it in the sales numbers, and we noticed it in the lines, because a lot of times, if you think about, if you ever go to a football game, or sometimes you just want to drink. You don't want a hamburger, you don't want nachos, you don't want any of that. You just want to drink. You want a Coke, you want Dr. Pepper, you want water, whatever it is. And when we added that drink line, especially it was hot, we were churning through more drinks and more customers than we ever could. And the transaction count skyrocketed because we could get them in and get them to that line fast. And then those that wanted the full meal could go stand in a longer line and be a little bit more committed to their cause. And we did that, and that ended up just carrying through every game from that point on, because it was a quicker way to serve the customers and delight the customers.
Yeah, I love that.
We have some of our users on Booster Hub, they do like pre-ordering now. Our QR coded tickets, you can pre-order a meal and just scan your ticket. And so then you don't have to do the actual payment part. The boosters know the meal's coming, so they can get it ready or have those meals prepackaged and ready to go. So we've had some good success with that.
We wanted to get to delivery at your seat. And I would have had to stick on a few more years to make that happen. But that was one of the ways we wanted to go next. Would have required some technology, would have required some more volunteers and some more coordination with the stadium staff and maybe with food safety and health. But that was one of the areas we wanted to get to as well. I guess it's pretty common now with DoorDash and all that. You can deliver food just about anywhere. But we could have turned a lot more inventory that way too, and a customer wouldn't have had to leave their seat.
Speaking of food safety, did you do any food safety licensing or anything like that for the volunteers?
Yeah, mainly for the manager and for the overall coordinator. So we went serve safe with both myself and my partner, and then the actual stand managers would go full on food safety.
I always recommend that. It's not very expensive, and you learn something every time you take, unless it's your business, you learn something that you should or shouldn't be doing. And so I think it's helpful. Anything you do differently from that time period if you were to do it again?
The one thing I thought of was to figure out where to dispose of your grease. We had 5 years of grease. I don't know how much it was.
I'll tell the story. It's not what I do differently, but when we took over, so we did fries. So we had good oil and all that stuff. Probably, I think we had 6 different vats per stand. So it was a lot of oil, and you can only get so much out of that. So then it would go back into a bucket when it was done. And when we took over, all those buckets had just accumulated under the stands, and I had to get rid of them. There's just too much. So I was like, how do I get rid of a bunch of peanut oil? So I put it out on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. And some guy, he's like, I want it all. And it was like 50.
All of it.
You want all of it. I'm like, I'll meet you whenever you want it. I will give it to you. I mean, I almost paid for it to go. And he showed up in his truck and he took it. I said, what do you want all this for? Like, why do you want this? I thought he was going to use it for some diesel pickup or something I know, or eating. He said, I run a hunting outfit near the Red River, Oklahoma and Texas border. And it sponsors like veterans or something like that. And he has a bunch of hogs. And he pours that stuff out there. And he said, it's crack for hogs. Like he pours it out there and those hogs will show up and then they can shoot the hogs. It's an attractant for the hogs. So he took every last bit of that oil and got rid of it. But
put it on Facebook Marketplace, find the hunting guy and your oil.
People will take anything. You just got to find the right person. So
I will tell you, the only other thing I do different, I think, is just we had such antiquated methods for organizing all the volunteers. You'd start out with paper on sign up night, and then it'd progress to sign up genius, and you'd have the sign up genius for a million different things. And it was just so tedious and it was very exhausting.
I can feel that pain. That made me start a software company. So
I was trying to give you a segue there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, it's true though. Like when you're there, you're like, oh my gosh, there has to be a better way to do this. And that's what we were looking for, is all the better ways that you could fix those little things. And people don't understand. I mean, even if you're using Sign Up Genius or a spreadsheet or something, we have volunteers who do that and they're spending hours and hours in those programs. And that's not really what booster clubs are supposed to do. They want to be on the sidelines cheering their kid on, not sitting behind the spreadsheet and trying to figure out the boxes.
Jeremy, would you do anything?
I would say establish a volunteer structure for concessions specifically. I'm sorry, I'm talking in that context, but that's what I did to most of. Establish a tiered responsibility relationship a little bit higher up than just the nights. So the nights we had kind of on lock and we did that, but a lot of the burden would fall on one or two people that were kind of running the whole program. And that was a lot. And I'm saying that a little bit selfishly because I was one of those individuals, but establishing some roles. So an inventory manager, maybe a prep manager, things like that, some roles that didn't require you being there till midnight at night, but some of these preparatory type things, because what it results in is that the one that is over the entire program, the burden tends to fall on those individuals just every single night. And we shouldn't fool ourselves. Even though concessions are only a Friday night thing, it's a 7-day-a-week type of endeavor. There's always something to do. There's always something to clean. There's always some inventory to order. There's always a delivery to take. So establishing a stronger volunteer structure at that level to kind of segment out some of that task is something that I would have liked to have done earlier. We started to go down that road and we never got to fully lay it out. But once we started going down that road, you could start to feel it and the burden kind of loosened just a little bit. And again, people had responsibilities that worked to their schedule and to their time because maybe they wanted to be at the game Friday and maybe they didn't want to do that, but they can still contribute.
I find that when you make those roles, it gives people a definitive thing to do. And so they're not just a volunteer, they're the lead on this particular thing. And they tend to engage and contribute more because they know exactly what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, and then take the burden off lead.
And the lesson to the lead is let them do that. Let them own it. Don't lord it over them. And if you're going to delegate, then truly delegate and let them own that within the boundaries that you've already established. But you got to be disciplined on your side too, to let them own that piece. If they own inventory, let them own inventory until they prove that they can.
That's exactly right. I always recommend, if you're having an event, to delegate that down to a volunteer who's not a board member, because board members are already busy. They've already got a lot going on, or if lead concessions already has a lot going on. But to give it and let that person run with it. Because I think once people take ownership, they take responsibility and accountability, and then that gives you some breathing room. Right?
And you're building your bench for when you age out. If you don't have a good set of volunteers, then when you go to age out after 4 years or 8 years or 12 years or whatever it is, you turn around, you're like, wait a second, I'm the only one that knows how to do this. And that's a problem. Then you feel compelled to go on for another year. But you start giving these responsibilities. Now you've kind of been building that out and you have someone that can naturally step in.
Exactly. It's a good succession plan to have those roles moving up. Okay, so you guys were in Waxahachie being the concession parents. Then you moved up to Arkansas. And then Sharon, in the past year, you've had this incredible phenomenon where you've become the band mom. Tell us about that.
Oh my word. Yeah. And it was so crazy. My oldest, it was his second year where he was in drum corps. And we went up to Indianapolis. And I had never used TikTok. I just finally got the app to watch cat videos. Like it was just, to look on. And I posted a video of him. He was marching Blue Stars that year. He was marching Blue Stars. And they had these giant spoon props. And he slid down a spoon and, ta-da, and I posted this video that was maybe 7 seconds long and went to sleep. And the next morning I looked and it had 1.5 million views. And I thought, oh no. I told my son, I posted you online last night. You went viral. I'm so sorry. He's like, it's fine. Anyway, and I had another one go viral and then I didn't think anything of it. Last year, I got laid off from my job. And so there was a month where I was just looking for a job full time. Actually, no, it wound up being 3 months of that, looking for a job full time. And during that, it was the season of drum corps ramping up. We were going up to finals. And Jeremy said, you should see if you can get some more viral videos going when we're up there. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And we went to Best Buy. Jeremy, what did you have me buy at Best Buy? What did you have me buy? A microphone?
A lapel mic so you could interview people.
And I felt like the biggest goofball spending $20 on a lapel mic for something. I was like, no one's going to watch this. I can't believe I'm wasting $20. Anyway, so I got it. And before I knew it, I think it was October, I hit 10,000 views. And so then at that point, it was monetized. And then it just kept growing. And then I added Instagram and added Facebook, and Facebook's monetized. In the meantime, like I've got another job, right? And I'm working, and that's what I do. I love what I do. I'm in corporate comms. And I was like, well, I'm not going to pocket all this money that these videos are making. What are we going to do? I want to keep doing it because it's doing well. So I was able to take that and just start sponsoring schools and sponsoring kids and donating to different groups. And it's been so fun to go and be able to donate to like these little programs in Arkansas where, if I drop $500 at Waxahachie, that's not going to do a lot for a program that size. Yes, it's helpful. But if I go drop $500 at West Fork, Arkansas, where there's 20 kids in the band, that makes a huge impact for them. So I was able to just start doing stuff like that. And it has just been so fun. I feel like Oprah. It's like that. You get a car, you get a car. Yeah. But it's just been great to see kids get so excited about seeing themselves highlighted, these programs that never get attention. And it's just so fun. And now the kids, I tried to just keep my face off of all of it at first. I didn't want people to see me. It was like, this is not about me. And then it just started happening. And then this last year, like I started going to contests and kids knew who I was. And they'd be like, let's take a picture with you. And I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah. So I think I'm at 130,000 total followers now. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So it's continuing to grow. And now I've had just so many people just come up to me that are people that I'm like, how do you know who I am? And they're like, we just love what you do. We love that you highlight the kids. How can we get you involved? And it has turned into a really fun hobby to do. And I don't know, I just feel like I have to keep it up now. So
I love that you do it and then give back to the community. That's a really cool thing to do and highlight the kids that I've subscribed. So I watch all your videos now and love the comments and love you've always got the one kid that's just doing something just awesome, either awesome, funny or awesome, good. So it's really a great channel, great thing to keep you entertained and keep you engaged with the band.
My 18-year-old thinks I'm pretty cool too. So for me, that's a win that he thinks I'm cool. So
my kids are horrified that I'm on social media. So
like, Mommy, you're short-lived.
Your face shows up all the time. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of feedback from the users and the audience? Things that they're struggling with and things like that?
Yeah, I do. I get a lot of DMs from moms just looking for advice on certain things or ask if I have certain resources, which I don't. And I'm like, well, I might talk to this person. I do kind of just try to keep an eye out for news and things that are happening so I'm aware in the community of what's going on. But kids reach out a lot. And honestly, half the time it surprises me because, for instance, this kid that I posted yesterday, I think he's almost up to 4 million views on it. And I had to shut the comments off because you get trolls no matter what, right? Just trolls come out of the woodwork. And I had to go to work. I couldn't keep up with it. So he messaged me. Please turn the comments back on. And I was like, I can't go in there and monitor it right now. And he's like, I don't care. My friends are sticking up for me. I don't care. Just turn them on. I'm like, okay, I'll turn it on. And that's what he wanted. Not everybody has thick skin. And if someone makes a rude comment, I try to take care of it pretty quick. Eventually I had to this weekend hire somebody to help with it. So
that's a hard thing to do to keep up with on social media. And there's always anti-opinions, right? It doesn't matter what you post. Some are bots, some are real people who just find the need to be anti whatever it is. So good that you monitor, and that you've also got the position that it is what it is. There's only so much you can do. Well, that's really exciting. Are you have any plans going forward? Anything that you're going to do with it in the coming year?
I've got a couple things that are kind of in the works that I can't share yet, but that I've been talking to people about that I'm really excited about, and it's not formal yet. But once it is, I will be sharing that. So sorry, that's very vague.
I totally understand. Well, as we wrap up, we always end our episode with talking about what sort of sports or activities that y'all did in school and how that impacted your life. So were you both or either one of you involved in band or sports when you were in school?
I was a highly unathletic child. I showed horses and raised chickens and goats and stuff in 4-H. And I said, I'm going to marry a city man so that I don't have to clean stalls anymore. So I did. I married a city man.
No, I was quite a city man, but probably more city than what you were. Through high school, I was wrestling from a sports perspective and not good at it. And I was drum major in band for 2 or 3 years. Really small band in Kansas. We just more military style. We would do football games, home football games only, and we would do some marching contests, and that was about it. So,
but your marching contests were parades, though, right?
Yeah, they were all parades and just straight marching. Our show was nothing elaborate. It was more military style. It was, I guess you could say, a park and bark type show. We would get to our spot, play something, and then move to the next one. So, but it established a love for band. The band community was still there, even though it was small. Those are my friends. My friends are in band, and did that for 4 years in high school. Since 6th grade, I did it the whole time. So, yeah, I've been connected to it in some form for a few years.
I had a suspicion with all the kids being in band that there was a musical thread in there somewhere. So I'm not surprised.
We definitely encouraged it.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all taking time to come on the podcast, and more importantly, appreciate all the giving back that you've done over the years. Y'all have been dedicated, and a lot of times you don't get a thank you. So thank you for giving back to all your programs, and Sharon for continuing to give back in the ways that you give back through the Band Mom. Thanks. It means a lot. The kids don't always say it. Sometimes the parents in the program don't always say it. So we, at Booster Hub, we always say it because we appreciate all the time and work that everybody puts into the programs. We'll be excited. Our team will be out some of the competitions next year, so we'll be sure to say hello.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Well, thank you all. Let's go to Sharon. Where can we find you on social media? What's your handle?
Yeah, so TikTok at The Band Mom. And then Facebook and Instagram is at The Real Band Mom. And now YouTube at The Real Band Mom.
Perfect. We'll get those posted. We'll have them in the comments so everyone can find you and follow you on all the channels.
Thank you.
The Boosted Volunteer is brought to you by Booster Hub. To find out more about Booster Hub and how our app can help you improve communications, increase engagement, raise more money, and manage your Booster Club responsibly, visit www.boosterhub.com. And then make sure to search for Booster Club Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Booster Hub, thanks for listening.